Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for our webinar, which is called The Cultural Participation of U.S. Adult Future NADAC Highlight. Let's start off with introductions. We have Amy Pienta, who is the Archive Director. She is also the Associate Research Scientist and Acquisition Director at ICPSR. Amy has been with NADAC since the very beginning, and she continues to be an active advocate for facilitating and advancing research in the arts and culture field. And my name is Alison Stroud, and I am the Archive Manager. My responsibilities include project administration and data processing oversight, as well as the creation of resources for data users and assistance to researchers who want to share their data through NADAC. Also, Holt curates data for NADAC and occasionally assists with user support requests. She was also one of the presenters for our webinar today, but unfortunately, she was not able to make it. So I will do the best I can to cover her part, and hopefully I will do a great job for her. I want to say that if you have any questions at all, please try to hold them off until the end of the webinar, and I will answer them the best I can. However, if you are lost or need me to repeat something, I will also do the best I can to keep an eye on any notes that may appear in the pop-up window. Thank you very much in advance for your patience. Now let's go over the agenda. We will provide some introductory details as well as updates about NADAC and its collection. Then we will explore the data and check out some highlights of select cultural themes in America. The major categories we will cover are reading, music, and live performances. We will then wrap up the webinar with a quick note of some upcoming releases and give the audience a chance to ask any questions or share any comments. For those of you who are not familiar with the Arts and Culture Archive, NADAC is a repository that facilitates research on arts and culture. NADAC primarily acquires data from federal agencies and shares their data with the broad audience. Finally, NADAC presents data in unique and engaging ways. This archive is funded by the National Endowment for the Arts. Also, a quick note. I would like to share one of our goals for the webinar. We aim to demonstrate that NADAC offers more than just data files and documentation for the community. The archive also provides engaging infographics and easy-to-use tables with summary statistics for select data collection. For this webinar, we will highlight studies that provide the summary statistics tables as one of the best tools for data users to get the bigger picture of some of the major areas on arts participation in the United States. So for those of you who do not already know, ICPSR began developing this archive in 2014 with the NEA. Its website was launched in 2015. The NADAC site now has 86 studies in its holdings. This number includes both data collection and union catalogs. This means that on the NADAC website, data users can find 262 datasets with a total of 72,026 variables. We have also released some very interesting studies. They are the annual Arts Basic Survey for 2013, 2014, and 2015. Then we have also done the state-level estimates of arts participation patterns for 2012 through 2015. Finally, we just released the Public Libraries in the United States survey for 2013. I would like to add that we are always on the lookout for new data collection. So, have you or are you collecting any data on arts and culture? Are you looking to preserve and publish your work? Or do you have any new ideas for an existing or new data collection that you think should be archived with NADAC? please contact us. You can contact us by email at ICPSR-NADAC@umich.edu. For those of you who have collected data, you can begin sharing your data at the NADAC website. Just click on the Departures tab in the upper right corner of any NADAC web page. Then you may click on the Data Departure Form button, where you'll begin to add details about your research projects and send your files through. There are some things that data departures really should know. If you are sharing your data with NADAC, it is best to have details about your data collection prepared in advance. This way, you can have the information you need to add to the departure form. Also, you can provide these details in any form of documentation. Some of the important details will include the summary or the scope of the data collection, as well as data collection method. The NADAC team will be much more than happy to assist with any data departure question or concern that you may have. Any data deposited with NADAC are reviewed by NADAC and the NEA for approval. Data that are not approved will be matched, if possible, with one of the other archives at ICPSR. Upon the approval of the data collection, NADAC staff will communicate updates to the principal investigators and work with them to curate the data for dissemination. And like I said earlier, if you have any questions about depositing your data, please feel free to contact us anytime. And now, Shai is actually going to present some into the details here about some major categories of the arts participation in the United States. She has planned to exhibit some of the data available on our website by showcasing data highlights and a selection of cultural activities, which include reading, listening to and playing music, and attending live performances. I will do the best I can with her portion of the webinar. So for that portion of the presentation, we are using data from the American Time News Survey Summary Table for 2010 through 2014. These tables provide data on how many people 15 years or older participated in a particular activity on any given day, as well as the average time spent on that activity by people who participated. While these data provide information on all types of activities, there are several that pertain to the arts and culture field. As with all of our studies, we feature information on the study homepage to really highlight it. In addition, we use the Consumer Expenditure Survey summary tables, which are also provided by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Their tables contain information on consumer spending habits and is used to construct the Consumer Price Index. While the study provides spending on a wide range of goods, it is also a treasure trove of information on arts and culture spending. Finally, we use tables from the state-level estimate of arts participation patterns study produced by the NEA. The data tables were constructed with data from the annual Arts Basic Survey and the Survey of Public Participation in the Arts. As you will see, the NEA does a really nice job of showcasing the survey results by providing maps on arts participation by state. All of these studies that I just described have data on the reading habits of American adults. The American Time News Survey provides data tables that show how much time respondents spent on reading for personal interest in 2010 and 2014. Also note that these statistics are based on people's primary activities. And on an average day during this time period, about 21% of the population participated. That means that about 51 million people read for personal interest. on an average day. And of the people who went, they spend an average of an hour and a half reading for personal interest. There are some limitations that I think you should keep in mind when looking at these statistics. This does not count reading to others as children or reading as a volunteer activity. These statistics only count reading when it is a primary activity. So say, for example, you are at work as a security guard and reading for personal interest while on duty. Your reading time while working could be coded in a work category rather than reading for personal interest. Therefore, these are low-end estimates of reading for personal interest. At the NADAC site, we provide tables for the Consumer Expenditure Survey data. These are data tables that we use to share information on how much consumers spend annually on reading for 2010 through 2014. The graph you see displays the trend in reading material expenditures over the 10-year period. We found these additional data for year 2004 through 2009 from the BLS website. So, at the top of the graph shows the average annual expenditures by income earners in the top 20%, and the lowest line indicates average annual expenditures by individuals in the bottom 20% of the income. The middle line shows the average expenditure by consumers at all income levels. These data suggest that expenditures on reading at all income levels have trended downward over the last 10 years. The average consumer spent $27 less on reading in 2014 than in 2004. You can also see the disparity of expenditure on reading between high-income earners and low-income earners, with the average high-income spending about 4 times as much on reading materials than many low-income earners. Now, moving on to the state-level participation data. On the website, you can download maps on state-level participation. You can also access these maps data through the NEA website to find interactive display of these data. This map illustrates the percent of U.S. adults who read literature in 2015. The states in dark blue are the ones with statistically greater than average literature reading rate, while the light blue states are ones with lower than average reading rate. You might see that there is a clustering of high reading rates around the Northwest region. Strangely, these areas coincide with states that have relatively low population density. You may also notice that the light-colored states do not necessarily correspond to states with the lowest and highest reading rate. Texas, for example, has a reading rate of 37.5% in its light blue, while neighboring Louisiana has a lower rate of 36.6%, but is in the medium shade because this rate is not statistically different than the average rate of 33.1%. This may have something to do with how many people were sampled in different states. To learn about American engagement with music, let's take another look at the American Time Use Survey and the Consumer Expenditure Survey. On an average day between 2010 and 2014, you can see that about 2.2% of the population listened to music or played music, and that is about 5.5 million people. Those who listen to music or play music spend about an hour and a half listening or playing music. Recall that this really only counts the primary activities. Then you can see that this estimate is likely low since listening to music can be a secondary activity. Also, keep in mind that this does not include talking on the radio, since radio programming really encompasses more than just music. The Consumer Expenditure Survey provides data on average annual expenditure on instrument purchases and rentals between 2010 and 2014. As you can see on the graph, individuals in the highest 20% of income spenders spent as much as 25 times more on average on instruments than the consumers in the lower 20% of income earners. Expenditures on instruments really fluctuated over this period of time. Then you can see in 2011, the average annual expenditure among all consumers was highest at $24. Now, let's look at the attendance to performing arts. According to the American Time News Survey, only about 0.5% of the population attended a performing arts event on an average day between 2010 and 2014. That means that over 1 million people attended a performance on an average day, and of those who attended, they spent an average of over 2 hours and 40 minutes at the performances that they attended. And moving on to the state level participation, you can see that in 2015, the percent of the population who attended live music, theater, or dance performances really varied by state. You can see that Utah had the highest attendance rate with 51% of the population going to a performance, while on the other hand, Alabama had only 16.2% of the population attending a performance. And that was Shai's portion of the presentation, and I hope I really did a nice job highlighting her work and her interesting statistics about the major categories of arts participation. And now I will go ahead and share information on the arts and culture industry's contribution to the economy. The data highlighted in this section are provided by the Arts and Cultural Production Satellite Account. ACPSA is what we would call it. This collection is produced through the partnership between the United States Bureau of Economic Analysis and the National Endowment for the Arts. The ACPSA provides such detailed statistics that help to clearly illustrate the impact of arts and cultural production on the United States economy. Specifically, this account provides an assessment of the arts and cultural section contribution to gross domestic products. We will start with a few estimates from the most recent year that the data are available. In 2013, the arts and cultural production contributed $704.2 billion in the United States economy, or 4.23% of the gross domestic product. And you can see here that the top contributor in 2013 was broadcasting, with over $117 billion, followed by the motion picture industry, which contributed just over $100 billion in the United States economy. I would like to add also that the performing arts companies and independent artists and writers and performers also contributed just over $36 billion in the United States economy. I thought these statistics were interesting in that the top contributor was such a major player in the arts and culture industry. So moving on, we wanted to show you how the production of the arts and cultural goods has contributed to the United States economy since 2005. You can see that despite a dip in 2009, the contribution appears to have increased steadily from $563.2 billion in 2005 all the way up to $704.2 billion in 2013. I thought the ACPSA really does a great job showing that the agricultural industry has a rather meaningful impact on the economy and can be one of the major players in helping the United States to grow in an economic sense. We thought that these statistics were a nice addition to help show the bigger picture of how much the agriculture are really ingrained in what we do or what we buy. Also, keep in mind that the ACPSA's data for 2014 will be available sometime in 2017, and we will have these new statistics available through the NADAC site then. Please keep an eye out for them. Alright, I thought I should take you to the NADAC website so you could see some new things that you might want to check out. For those of you who are not entirely familiar to the NADAC site, there are user groups right at the top of each NADAC web page. And this will help users kind of figure out what population they might belong to, and the group actually provides tools for each of these user groups that really help guide them to where they might want to go for information that they might want to see related to the agriculture. And I wanted to show you a quick way to get to the infographics page. So if you click on infographics right here in one of the user groups, you can see a page of all of the infographics that NADAC has created with the help of ICPSR's web team. And you can see that these infographics really are wonderful visual representation of data that we wanted to highlight related to the agriculture field. These are really great ways for people who just wanted a quick look at some of the major categories that data researchers and the general public are generally interested in. And if you have not visited the website in a while, I wanted to say that we release new studies and update several materials quite often on the NADAC website. So if you would like to go see a list of all the studies and see the most recent ones, you could easily sort them by the release and updated date. And you can see that if you look at the date to the right of the study titles, you can see that many of them have just been released or recently updated. And these were the days that Shai and I wanted to show you in case you haven't been to the website in a while and you weren't sure whether anything were added to it recently or whether there was new infographics that you wanted to find. These are some of the things that I thought you might find interesting. And like I said earlier, we do update these materials quite often, so I encourage you to come visit our website as often as you would like to check out anything new that we might have, anything interesting that we would have. And now we'll head back to the presentation. So speaking of new and interesting material, I wanted to name a couple of studies that we plan to release soon. These new studies are the updated version of the American Time Use Survey with the year 2015 added to the current collection. We also are getting ready to prepare the diversity survey of the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs grantees. I'd like to note that this study already has statistics that have gained a lot of attention and a lot of interest, especially in the agricultural community in New York City. So really keep an eye out for these things, and I think you will really like learning about these new data collection. And that's all we have for now. Thank you again for joining us today. We hope to enjoy the webinar, and we are more than happy to stick around if you have any question or comment. Alright, I think everybody understood everything that I said, and it looks like the information may have been very well absorbed by everybody in this group. So if you have any questions that happen to pop in your head sometime after the webinar, don't fear. You can still email us anytime at ICPSR-NADAC@umich.edu. Thank you very much.